I remember there was something like, hey, these UK agencies told me it's going to take a year to develop this platform, and instead when we actually started working on Rebills, it took us something like, I don't know, half a year or something to develop the same thing, or 3 months or 4 months.
Yeah, it took us 3 months to develop the MVP. I worked really closely with those guys one on one to get the exact results we wanted, and that's something you guys were willing to work with me on, as opposed to a hard no, which was the answer from a lot of other agencies, based on the code base that I worked on alongside your developers. We've managed to achieve really a huge code base at a pace which outpaced our competitors.
How likely are you to recommend Stellarsoft further? I mean, I know the answer,
I
but
mean, I do. It's the only development agency I'd recommend. Somebody goes, can you build me something? I go, no, but these guys can.
sure. Thank you so much. We are here to talk a little bit more about your experience working with Stellarsoft and how this partnership led you to reach your goals. So first thing first, can you just introduce yourself, like your company, your role, just so people know more about you?
I'm Will Mitchell, and the last time I worked with Stellarsoft, I was CTO at Rebills. I'm now CTO at Email Grow.
Okay, cool. What challenges or goals led you to start looking for external help?
Ooh, God, when I first started working with Stellarsoft, I was more of a freelance entrepreneurial type, and it was a case of capacity. I think our first project was probably a Shopify app, which I can't even remember the name of. It was probably all the way back in 20, maybe 2019, something like this. Yeah, yeah. So it was a case of capacity at first, but then I liked working with you guys because I remembered I had a very particular way I wanted to work with developers, especially in regards to best practices. And I wrote this really big document about all those best practices, and I sent it around to a bunch of agencies, and all the agencies in my whole home country told me to get lost. And then you guys were the only guys who didn't tell me to get lost. That's why I ended up working with Stellarsoft. And yeah, so you guys obviously operated to that particular spec, to those particular best practices, and then we went on to work together quite a few times in the future and on quite a big project as well.
Yeah, so the connection was established then, and then the actual work happened actually when you were the CTO at Rebills, as far as I remember, correct?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, we did. Well, I think we did a project before that, you know. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
I think
fine.
when we
It's
scaled
fine.
up, we did. When we scaled up, it was Rebuilds. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, cool. And did you ever try working with the other agencies at all prior to doing anything with us?
No, they all told me to go away. I mean, I worked for agencies for a while. So I had a lot of agency experience. But I mean, the problem I had really with working with other agencies was as like a very technical project manager myself with a development background, it was a case of agencies weren't willing to give me exposure to the code base, weren't willing to give me direct access to developers, for good reason. I mean, usually with non-technical clients, you know, that could go disastrously. I know this from working like in an agency myself, right? But you guys, I made some really good relationships with developers on your team. I worked really closely with those guys one on one to get the exact results we wanted, and that's something you guys were willing to work with me on, as opposed to a hard no, which was the answer from a lot of other agencies.
Yeah, indeed. And it still happens that it's the case for most of the agencies in the area, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, was there any moment, like if we were to get back to the rebuild situation, was there any moment when you caught yourself with the thoughts in mind, something like, okay, these guys really get it, so let me work with them further and expand the team? Was there any situation like that? Or maybe a moment, or maybe something that convinced you that we can improve? Because, like we start, as far as I remember, we started with Nick and Andrew for reviews, and then the team expanded over time.
I mean, Andrew was incredible.
Like, was there any moment when you thought that, hey, these guys really get it, in terms of my needs? Because, like we obviously started with Andre only, but then with time, it was a team of 7 or 8 people with you. So I wanted to see if there was any like mindset or something that convinced you to proceed
Yeah, I
further.
mean, really for me with Stellarsoft, it felt like the guys were part of my own team, and I mean, at first, you know, it started dictatorial. I'd do the architecture, and the guys would go ahead and do it. But as the guys got to know, as we got to know one another, there started to be, push back on architecture and better suggestions given by the team, Nick and Andrew in particular. So we started to work together on features as opposed to it being a dictation downwards, which was very helpful to me because we were very, very busy in that company. And having the guys take on more responsibility in terms of the architectural side of things. And obviously they could do that anyway. They're all great architects, but knowing exactly how I'd want the system to be set up and working within those parameters was the depth.
Okay, cool. So what results have you achieved since partnering with us, or did you manage to achieve during
Oh man, we've had at least one sale. I can't remember if we've got another smaller sale from one of your products or not. My memory doesn't go that far back, but we got at least one sale. So I'm now an exiting founder, based on a code base that I worked on alongside your developers. We've managed to achieve really a huge code base at a pace which outpaced our competitors in Rebills.
Yeah, I remember what your approach was more about like feature specific technical task management rather than like briefs, etc., etc.
Exactly, yeah, which to me breeds a little bit more pace in project management, but we really managed to keep up the pace. I ended up with a huge and wildly complicated code base, but I mean that's where you want to end up when you're in SaaS, is with a huge and wildly complicated code base. There's no other end goal. But no, we had an exit, which was fantastic.
I remember you gave me some numbers in terms of like this is how long it took us with Tellersoft to develop such a platform versus how long the US UK agencies told you it's gonna take.
I can't remember the numbers.
Because there was something like, I mean, it's fine if you don't remember. I remember there was something like, hey, these UK agencies told me it's gonna take a year to develop this platform, and instead, when we actually started working on Rebills, it took us something like, I don't know, half a year or something to develop the same thing, or 3 months or 4 months.
Yeah, it took us 3 months to develop the MVP. I remember this. After that point, I think we worked on it for probably another year, and then we got a really complete platform after that. Can't remember what the dev agencies quoted me. I can't remember.
No worries at all. And like in general, if we were to summarize about like our collaboration between like your team and our team, can you recall or summarize how Stellarsoft managed to support you during the development time? Like,
Oh,
well,
yeah, we had my team was structured like this. I had a technical project manager, and then developers sitting underneath the technical project manager, and me and the technical project manager had a very close relationship. That was Nick. So we at one point we'd have daily calls, we'd have weekly calls. Sometimes once the work got a little bit lighter, I felt supported from the full process of using you guys. And it was really easy as well if I had any problems with the team or any problems with the workflow, come to either Nick or you and get that changed quite easily. I mean, it was um, it was definitely not a hands-off approach. I mean, you'll have some experiences with some agencies, especially in the UK, in which you go and you give them 50 grand and they pass that work down to a project manager who has no technical experience, and then they pass that work down to junior developers who have very little technical experience, and then the senior developers just sit there all day and review junior developer code. And it makes for a very slow, very painful experience. And that full cycle is just not very, to use the word agile, even though I don't really like the agile project management system. The whole cycle of, let's change a button, it'll go to the non-technical project manager to create something in Jira, to go to the junior developer to commit, to review the commit, to go live. It's horrible. And you guys are way more direct than that, and you find this very open and accessible team which you can work closely with, where it doesn't seem like you are a million miles removed from the actual action that's going on. You can really get involved in the development of your application.
yeah, for sure. Would you say that this is a product-centric approach or something like that, where you build a team which you kind of like integrate yourself into as a CTO,
Yeah,
where
yeah. I mean, God, it's product centric in the way that it makes a better product. If you want to call that product centric, then fine, right? It makes a better product, and therefore it's product centric. It's Yeah, you've got to be really careful when you're hiring dev agencies, because you've got I guess, I don't know where the money's being made because most of those dev agencies don't care about that outcome. They're just there to take the cash off of you. I don't think I've ever, when I worked dev agency, when I was but a young buck and I worked dev agency, I don't think there was a single project that I worked on which actually came to anything. They just took the money and went, right?
Okay. So your approach and like the final goal that you managed to achieve was to sell the company, and this is kind of like this is how you structure your goals, like build
Yeah,
a
yeah. So
sell it, next product.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it wasn't as structured like that back when I started working with you guys. Back then, it was kind of we were throwing things around and seeing what stuck. Now it's a little bit more structured in the sense that we like to do a startup, um, usually a SaaS startup in a good competitive space, and scale
Okay.
on for 2, 3 years and then look for a sale. Yeah.
How do you see this partnership evolving in general?
I mean, it'll be really interesting. I want to work with your technical project manager again on a new project. I want to. I mean, over the next few years, it's going to get way easier to scale a portfolio of SaaS as opposed to just have to focus on a single SaaS. And I have my ideas as usual about how we can do that structurally. Once we get to the point where I have the time to do that. But yeah, we will be using Stellasoft again in the future, and unique aspect of Stellasoft, the unique selling point for me being I can come to you guys with a structure. I can come to you guys with how I want to scale the team. I can come to you guys with how I want the team to work. I can come to you guys with how I want the project management to work, and you guys will fit those needs. It means that when I've figured out this structure for scaling multiple apps at the same time as opposed to one, you guys will be the first guy, as I call it, right?
Thank you. Cool. How likely are you to recommend Stellarsoft further? I mean, I know the answer,
I
but
very, I do. It's the only development agency I'd recommend. Somebody goes, can you build me something? I go, no, but these guys can.
sure. Thank you so much.